All right, of course, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to once again another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast. And of course, once again, I go by the name of King Von Jr. As you can see at the bottom of the screen. And for those that like to follow me, of course, for those that are watching by way of Facebook Live and YouTube, you follow all the different, all the different social media handles on there. 301 King Von Jr. on Twitter. Of course, the shows a podcast page of Victory Pod One. Of course, the IG Mr. King Von Jr. The rest. So of course, YouTube.com/Von Resper Jr. But one of the things I like to go into, especially with this regular season, wrapped up already, and of course this has been a project, an idea that's been in the back of my mind for the longest time. Even since I've been doing this podcast, was that of course my favorite basketball team of all time, Los Angeles Lakers, and so considering the amazing history, like I said, the incredible history that this franchise has, when it comes to when it comes to championships, when it comes to the players that they produce, like I said, like the Hall of Famers that they produce, and just like a lit, like just a plethora of just overall greatness, just the charisma that this team has. Like I said, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to just being money makers overall, just considering the impact that just considering just the overall impact that this franchise has had on the NBA historically. I believe that the league is so much better off for it, and what I mean? And of course, like some of my favorite episodes, have been, have been some of the Legend Spotlight episodes about the Lakers, whether it's, the Magic Johnson episode that did last year in honor of his birthday, and in honor of, in honor of the Lakers documentary that the Hulu did, the Hulu did last year, which is incredible, it's phenomenal. Winning Time before that, and I was doing a whole bunch of episodes, like I said, a bunch of episodes reviewing that series, what I mean? So like I said, I was hooked, like, from episodes 1 through 10, and of course last year, in honor of of the late great Lakers icon, Kobe Bryant, who we lost prematurely, like just tragically, just unbelievably. I certainly did an episode about him, Mamba Forever. So the Magic episode is called Magic Season, Magic SZN. That's how it's spelled. And the Kobe episode was called Mamba Forever. So it's like I said, with all that being said, especially considering the fact that considering the fact that last week I just came back from Los Angeles following WrestleMania weekend. Can you believe that WrestleMania has been like over a week now? So like I said, and with all that, everything like that, that just inspired me even more, just motivated me even more. To come up with more content, in regards to Los Angeles, and of course I'm even writing writing articles as we speak about the Lakers history. So without further ado, not to belabor things any longer, I'm going to go into, I'm going to go into my list of the top 10, at least my estimation, my top 10 Lakers of all time. So the thing about it is that this is specifically about what players have done in a Lakers uniform. So this is not about, this is not gonna, like I said, just give me a heads up. This is not gonna include, somebody's entire career accomplishments, like as far as like what they've done outside of Lakers uniform, though. So this is going to be specifically what they have done wearing the purple and gold. So that's what it is. And so, like I said, the thing is, like that's why certain placements are the way that they are. As of course the Lakers, like I said, have been around for 75 years, and so during that silver anniversary, or Sorry about that. Like I said, is it like or rather, it's like Diamond or something like that. But like during that time, produced some of the best of the best, and so of course, I'm not really going to honorable mentions like that, as of right now. But starting off at number 10, I believe that this guy has certainly cracked um, the top 10 all-time lists, just considering the impact that he's made so far. And if, of course, this is somebody that's currently currently on the roster. Just give me a heads up, this guy is all-time great in other aspects. And so, if this was about career accolades, like I said, all across the board, this guy, that this player would be much higher. But once again, as I've said before, with this disclaimer, specifically about what you've done in in the Laker colors, purple and gold, gold and purple, whatever. So anyway, long story short, at number 10, this guy, of course, is an NBA champion. Of course, from 2020. So I'm giving you a heads up already. As this guy led the Lakers to the championship. In the pandemic 2020 season. Of course, he was also named the Finals MVP that year, and he's been an All-Star all 5 seasons as a member of the Lakers. And of course, next thing he's made. He's made one All NBA first team. He's made he's made the All NBA second team, as well as 2 All NBA third team. So, selections as a member of the Lakers. You know what I mean? And so, of course, and of course, without further ado, number 10 on my list, I guess you could already tell, tell at this point based on his accolades, is none other than LeBron James. So like I said, and of course, and the thing is, even though his best years are behind him as far as what he's done with other teams, the Cavs and the Heat, but like considering, consider how effective he has been, even in these twilight phases, like sort of like the twilight phases of his career, at least by his standards. Like I said, LeBron has done enough to, like I said, when it comes to cracking that top 10, and just in terms of the impact that he's had when it comes to just bringing eyes to the team and things like that. So, and with him being the Finals MVP, that certainly carries weight. Like I said, when it comes to my decision making. So at number 9, I'm going to go with I said number 9. This guy is a 3-time NBA champion, and and he was a critical piece to the to the Showtime Lakers. To the Showtime Lakers of the 80s. And it's like I said, and this guy was a 3-time. First, he was a number 1 overall pick coming out of that 1982 draft after being drafted by after winning NCAA championship with North Carolina with the Tar Heels. And so of course, like I said, he was drafted first overall in 1982. He's a 3-time NBA champion. So with the historic, legendary, and iconic Showtime Lakers of the 80s. And he was absolutely critical when it came to the fast break. You know what I mean? And like I said, he was a very pivotal wingman. You know what I mean? So like when it comes to that, he's like pretty much like the number 3 guy. If he's considered like the number 3 guy right behind Magic and Kareem. I agree with you putting LeBron number 10. He got us a ring where he desperately, absolutely, certainly did. That and like I said, with this comment, Facebook user, but but the thing about it, like that's the reason why I have LeBron number 10, because of the impact that he made at a time that we needed. But anyway, like I said, with this number 9 pick, this guy's a 3-time NBA champion, as I said before. He was the Finals MVP in 1988 after having a triple-double in Game 7 of the 88 Finals against the Pistons. He's also a 9-time NBA All-Star. He's been a member of both the top 50 and top 75 anniversary teams. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer. None other, and of course, one of the best to ever wear goggles. And that is none other than Big Game James himself, Mr. James Worthy. So, of course, that's number 9. And of course, once again, I want to give another shout out. Give another shout out to James Worthy. For give another shout out to him for liking the graphic that I made for Magic Johnson. So, of course, that's something that's that's sometimes a design that I'm going to be using in the future. So just keep that on the lookout. But anyway, like I said, like it's a big shout out to to Big Game James. I appreciate that. Like I said, he's at number 9. At number 8, this guy was the guy that I have at number 8 was the building block of the Lakers all the way back to Minneapolis. This was the NBA's first marquee superstar, the NBA's first first superstar, first superstar center, first great big man. He goes back to like when the NBA was like the NBL and everything like that, in regards to in regards to stuff like that. So, so of course, his lineage goes back to the beginning when, like I said, when we were the Minneapolis Lakers, when we were the first, when we became the NBA's actual first dynasty that really kicked the league off. And like I said, this guy was this guy was a 5-time NBA champion. Including like the first ever, including the NBA's first ever three-peat when it comes to that. So, so when it comes to winning 3 straight championships, like the Minneapolis Lakers were the originals to do that. And and I think his nickname is like Mr. Basketball. Like I said, just consider how iconic he was. And he was the first. Like I say, he was the first big man to use the hook shot. So this guy was doing hook shots and wearing goggles long before Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and of course he was synonymous with the number 99, and of course this guy, of course he's also been a 3-time scoring champion as well, and of course the number 8 is none other than, like I said, one of the founding, one of the founding pioneers of the NBA himself, none other than George Mikan. So number 8, I have George Mikan. At number 7 on this list, this guy, this guy was a 1-time NBA champion, and he led the Lakers in the 1972 NBA Finals, and as a result, he was also the Finals MVP of that series. And of course, he's first, first all time when it comes to rebounds per game. He's first all time in Lakers history when it comes to rebounds per game. During his tenure with the Lakers, like I said, during his tenure with the Lakers, he was a 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-Defensive second team member. And of course, he was a 3-time rebounder leader. He was a 1-time All-NBA second team member as well. And the thing about it is that if you were to include, same thing as I said about LeBron. If you were to include this guy's stats outside the Lakers, he'd be much higher. He'd be, like I say, he'd certainly be much higher on this list. But since we're condensing it once again to what you've done in this uniform, this guy, this guy goes down to number 7. But that's no shame in it at all, because of course, the number 7 is none other than the iconic, the mythic Wilt Chamberlain. So, like I said, of course, rest in peace to Wilt Chamberlain. So, so for him to be, number 7 on this list, I feel like that's a pretty consensus type of choice. Like I said, considering the time that he spent with us, as well as the impact that he made, and not only that, but also considering the fact that Wilt was the one who, I see, with Wilt on our team, we finally got our first championship in Los Angeles. Like I said, that 1972 championship team, the iconic championship team, is still considered one of the absolute greatest regular season teams of all time. The fact that we won 69 games with Wilt, and the funny thing about it is that, with that 1972 season when we won 69 games, they actually beat out, I said, the previous record of 68 wins, which is from the 1967 Philadelphia 76ers, which also had Wilt Chamberlain on there. So Wilt went to another team and broke a previous record that he held. You know what I mean? So, and not only that, but also this team was, like I said, that 1972 team was known for that 33-game winning streak. And so of course we ended up going up against the New York Knicks, and just winning in dominant fashion. Let's say, and it was like 4-1, and Wilt was, like I said, once again, Wilt was the Finals MVP. So, 'cause, like I said, even though he spent his last 5 years with the Lakers, like I said, once again, it's the impact that he made, considering the fact that with him on the team, we had a season where we won 69 games with 33 in a row, and that was also the first championship that we had won since moving to Los Angeles. So those are the reasons why I have Wilt at number 7, and also with the way that he changed his game, with the way that he, with the way that he made adjustments to the team around him. So and the thing about it is that he took on a more defensive approach, more of a Bill Russell-esque type of approach, whereas all the other years that he spent, he was always offense first. And of course he was always going to get his rebounds, but with this one, he was more of a defensive anchor when it came to his time with the Lakers. So once again, number 7 on this list is Wilt Chamberlain. Number 6 on this list is the was the next franchise player that we drafted in the aftermath of the George Mikan era. And this guy was a first overall pick coming out of Seattle. And by the way, he was also a native of Washington, D.C. Of course, a graduate of Spingarn High School. And so this guy was a pioneer a pioneer himself as well when it came to high flying, when it came to this above the rim type of game. So he was a precursor to Julius Erving. Actually, let me start. Like I say, he was a precursor to guys like Connie Hawkins, most notably Julius Erving, and eventually Michael Jordan, and so on and so forth. So, so if anything, this guy, the number 6 on my list is the one who established the blueprint for the above the rim high flying game, and just like with all the incredible things that this guy did in the air. He was very much ahead of his time, and for a guy that was 6'5" with his rebounding averages, I mean, that was, like I said, I mean, some of those numbers were like just way off the charts. As much as we talk about Charles Barkley and how great he was as an undersized forward, as an undersized rebounder, this guy was putting up incredible rebound stats, along with incredible like offensive stats as well. Had it not been for Wilt Chamberlain, this next player would have been the league's leading scorer multiple times. He would have won multiple scoring titles, and and like I said, like I said, the thing about it was that the things that he would do in the air were absolutely well ahead of their time. You know what I mean? It's so, like, for a guy that was playing in the late 50s all throughout the 60s, the things that he was doing just absolutely unheard of. And so he was the guy that moved the Lakers forward, coming out of Minneapolis, and then of course moving to Los Angeles. And so so of course during his tenure, he was an 11-time NBA All-Star. He was also All-Star Game MVP. He was also 10-time All NBA selection. And of course, this is none other than Hall of Famer, pioneer, the late great Elgin Baylor at number 6. So and of course, unfortunately for Elgin, he was never able to win a championship. And the crazy thing about it is that, as I said before about Wilt Chamberlain, in that 1972 season where we won 33 games in a row, we went on that winning streak after Elgin's retirement. So he never got a chance he never got the chance to enjoy that later success. You know what I mean? So it was a very unfortunate for him. You know what I mean? So, in that aspect. And like I said, but at the same time, like I said, considering the fact that he was with the Lakers his whole entire career, so I think because of his longevity, he was able to get. Like I said, the thing is, we're able to get more out of Elgin. That's the reason why he edges Wilt on this list. And of course, number 5. Of course, number 5. This player was the first player um, that we drafted when we moved to Los Angeles. And this guy was the second overall pick in the 1960 draft, right behind Oscar Robertson. So like I said, and the thing, like I said, as far as like I said, from the time that we moved to Los Angeles, from the time that we moved to Los Angeles, this is the first player that we drafted. Since the franchise had taken that move, and so of course, for the longest time, he had been for the longest time, he had been the franchise's all-time leading scorer with 25,192 points, and of course he was a 14-time NBA All-Star. Of course, a multiple All NBA, All NBA, All NBA selection. Of course, he was NBA champion in 1972 as Wilt Chamberlain's teammate. And however, he also has the not so distinct honor of being the first and only player to win the Finals MVP on a losing team, and that was that 1969 Finals. From the 1969 Finals when the Lakers lost to the Celtics in 7 games in Bill Russell's last season. But because of the numbers that he put up, because of the way that he carried that team, and because of the way that he just outplayed everybody else, including the guys on the winning team, because of that, I think just because. Just because of just so much sympathy, that a lot of the voters and writers have for him, he ended up winning, like I said, winning the Finals MVP, and that's the first and only time a player has won that award on a losing team. But this guy was absolutely sensational. He was, like I said, he was one of the premier guards of his time. At the time, he was the premier shooting guard of his generation. So, excuse me. So of course, long before Michael Jordan and eventually Kobe, this guy was the standard that shooting guards were measured by, much like how Elgin Baylor, long before, Dr. J, Larry Bird, LeBron, whatever, long before them, he was a standard that small forwards were measured by. So this guy number 5, he was the original measuring stick when it came to shooting guards, and so. And of course, also won an All-Star Game MVP. He's led the league in scoring at least once. He's also led the league in assists once. And the thing about it is that, had it not been for guys like Russell and Chamberlain, as well as Oscar, this guy would have won. This guy would have won a league MVP. Would have won a league MVP as well. So without further, and of course, one more hint, he's also the NBA logo. So that's already giveaway right there. None other than number 44, Mr. Clutch, Jerry West. At number 5 on this list. At number 4, the most dominant, unstoppable force that we've seen in NBA history when it comes to centers. Actually, he was the most unstoppable big man of his era and arguably of all time. It's 7'1", 350 whatever pounds. I guess he was absolute locomotive, a powerhouse, bigger, stronger than everybody else. Like I said, and the thing is, there's nobody in today's game that's bigger, stronger, more dominant than this guy that I'm about to name. He's had so many different names. The big Aristotle, big Diesel, the big legendary. And he's lived up to each and every one of those names. I guess I've given a spoiler already before I even read his accomplishments during his tenure with the Lakers. He was a 4-time, like I said, during his tenure with the Lakers. Rather, he was a 3-time NBA champion. He was the captain, of that 3-peat Lakers squad, as well as the guy that's going to be coming up later on this list. Like I said, during his time with the Lakers, he was a 3-time NBA champion, Finals MVP each and every year. Of winning a championship. Of course, he only had one MVP, which was in 2000. I feel like he should should have had another one as well. Of course, so of course, during his tenure with the Lakers, he was a 7-time All-Star out of 8 seasons, 6-time All NBA first team. Of course, scoring champion in 2000. And of course, out of his 3 All-Star game MVPs of his career, he's won 2 with the Lakers. And right next to Jordan from the first three-peat, this guy was the most dominant, most unstoppable powerhouse in the history of the NBA Finals. His numbers speak for themselves with averages like 38, 33, 36. During those three-peat years, and those, like I said, those were video game numbers. Like I said, like the only other player that I will put right next to him when it comes to finals dominance is Jordan, specifically from the first three-peat, by the way, I might add. No shade on the second one, but I'm just saying it still. Like I said, that's the only other guy that I'll put next, like I said, next to this guy, number 4. And had it not been for, his relationship with his greatest teammate getting soured, had it not been for ego, had it not been for, a lot of like back and forth, he said this, that, and the third, had it not been for a lot of infighting, had it not been for, which led to, that team, which led to that dynasty imploding. Had it not been for all those type of things, then this team, then that particular Lakers team would have won more championships. They would have exceeded. If anything, if they would have surpassed the Magic and Kareem era of the Lakers. In terms of championships, in terms of notoriety, in terms of just impact overall. But I feel as though that their run was just cut way too short. But like I said, the things that this guy did during his 8 years with the Lakers are absolutely noteworthy. That is why I have to put him at number 4. And cat's out the bag already. Number 4 is none other than the Diesel himself, the big legendary. Of course, Hall of Famer, Mr. Top 50, Mr. Top 75 as well, Shaquille O'Neal. And now we're moving on to the top 3. At number 3, and number 3, I would have to say that this was his predecessor when it came to great Lakers centers. When it came to when it came to dominance, I said when it came to generational defining players. Like I said, Shaq was a generation defining talent, and this guy that's number 3 on this list was also a generational defining talent in his own way. And with the deadliest weapon in NBA history, the deadliest offensive weapon, no other than the skyhook. I guess, burying the lead already, giving a spoiler. Like I said, but the thing is, during his tenure with the Lakers, and the thing about it, the reason why this guy has the edge over Shaq is because of longevity. Not only longevity when it comes to their careers, but longevity, especially when it comes to the Lakers. So this guy spent 14 seasons with the Lakers, and during that time, he was a 5-time NBA champion, 3-time league MVP, 1-time Finals MVP in 1985, a 13-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA first team selection, 4-time blocks leader, 1-time rebounding leader, and so, and like I say, he's the greatest to ever wear goggles. And the thing about it is that had his number not been retired, it's a good chance that Shaq might have worn that number in Los Angeles as well. And of course, this was this was the anchoring presence for that Showtime Lakers team in the 80s. And it's just like, as far as like Magic and everybody else who have the run the gun fast break, but when it's time to slow the game down, you pass it down to the you pass it down on the low block to the captain, let him do his thing with the sky hook, and it was automatic. And and this guy, was for me, I would consider him the greatest center of his generation, and also just the greatest center of all time when you consider his entire lifetime body of work. But even if we take away the stuff that he did before he got to the Lakers, he still has a case for being the GOAT. And of course, I'm talking about none other than the captain himself, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So of course that's number 3. At number 2, and now it is time for the top 2 of this list when it comes to the greatest Lakers of all time. And think about it is that with this, I mean, it could go either way. You know what I mean. So also, like I said, with these last 2 picks, ultimately, I think one of the things that ultimately boils down to, one of the things that it can ultimately boil down to is the generation, that each fan base comes from. So one generation may say that player A may be the greatest Laker, may say player B may be the greatest Laker, whatever like just pretty much like this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? So it was, like I said, this one was really, really, it was like pulling teeth. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and the thing is, like the thing about it is that both of them are my top 5 overall, like all-time lists. You know what I mean? So and the thing is, their spots are right next to each other on my all-time list. And now when it comes to the greatest Lakers, they're right next to each other on my all-time list as well. You know what I mean? So ultimately, it pretty much comes down to what you prefer. When it comes to greatest Laker. But without further ado, this guy was, and the funny thing is, both of them have been 5-time champions. But I'm going to go into more detail when it comes to my number 2 pick. This guy was, of course, this guy was a 5-time NBA champion, and he was the 1B to Shaq's 1A when it came to that Lakers 3-peat dynasty. So I'm giving you clue already. It's like I say, his accolades speak for themselves. 5-time NBA champion, and even in Shaq's absence, he was a 2-time Finals MVP. He only won 1 league MVP, which is a travesty, which is a crime. I feel as though he should have at least 2 or 3. No thanks to Steve Nash. But other than that, he was an 8-time. I mean, not 8-time, but excuse me. He was an 18-time. Out of 20 seasons, this guy was an 18-time NBA All-Star. And out of those 18 All-Star appearances, he was a 4-time All-Star Game MVP. So much so that the league has named the All-Star MVP award after him. He was a member. He was 11-time All-NBA first-team selection, a 2-time All-NBA second-team selection, a 2-time All-NBA third-team selection, a 9-time All-Defensive first-team selection, tied with his hero, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And like I said, I'm already giving clues already that this guy was the greatest when it came to patterning, when it came to building his game after Jordan. This guy had no problem taking on that challenge of being like Mike, and he took on that challenge and succeeded. He exceeded expectations. And the reason why I say exceeded expectations is because coming out the gate, this guy did not become a starter until his 3rd season in the league, and then then once you start getting to those championship seasons, it's just like off to the races, never look back. You know what I mean? And so so of course, like I said, his accolades speak for themselves. Like I said, along with those, like I said, all those All NBA first team selections, he's a member of 3 All Defensive second teams. He was a 2-time scoring champion, and side note, he's also a slam dunk contest champion, but I'm pretty sure that they would have loved to have traded that slam dunk trophy for a defensive player of the year trophy, which I feel like he should have won. Um, unfortunately, unfortunately, we lost him prematurely. It's one of those things. I always wonder, like, what if? He's one of the ultimate what ifs in terms of his career outside of the NBA. Like I say, he has a highly decorated resume. I mean, you want to talk about GOAT status, undisputed top 5 when you go back and look at those numbers, and he currently ranks 4th all time on the NBA's all-time scoring list with 33,643 points. And of course, his signature game was the legendary 81-point game against the Toronto Raptors. And the thing about it is that even when he changed his number, he was still the same beast. You know what I mean? And his number, and the crazy thing is, even when he changed his number, from 8 to 24, like I said, the stats are pretty much identical. And so, and the thing about it was that the thing about it was that, of course, they were saying like number 24 just symbolized the fact that we all have like 24 hours in a day. He lives, like I say, he lived those 24 hours to the fullest. Like, I mean, like his game, like he played every game like it was his last. He did not want to shortchange the fans, and he certainly did not. He played at his hardest from first to fourth quarter. He was absolute excellence. That is why, and to the point where he's had a motto. He had a motto called Mamba Mentali, which means to be the best version of yourself each and like find ways to become the very best version of yourself each and every day. His work ethic, his dedication was absolutely legendary. It was absolutely iconic. It, if anything, it became, I would say that his work ethic and just his training regimen has become, like I say, has pretty much become the standard for other players to follow. You know what I mean? Like I would say that's become the blueprint for other players to want to emulate. You know what I mean? And so, and the thing about it is, it's just like you can only imagine what his Hall of Fame speech would have been. And if anything, he was the headliner for that 2020 class of the Hall of Fame. And the fact that we lost him so tragically, and I think that's why that 2020 championship meant so much, because of everything that happened during that season, including that. But and I guess and the thing about it is it's just like I've already said so much before about this guy, but no matter what, I will still defend him no matter what. He is undisputed top 5 no matter what, all time. But in this case, when it comes to this list, he's number 2 all time. But like I said, you could interchangeable, but for good reason. And that is none other than the iconic Black Mamba himself, Kobe Bean Bryant. What I mean? Like I said, just when you look at the accolades, I mean that's another the case to just be number 1 overall in and of itself. But and think about it, think about Kobe and this next guy, as I said over and over, is one of those things where you could flip flop either one of them when it comes to who's the greatest Laker of all time. But number 1, I think, and even though this guy that having number 1 didn't have a career, as long as Kobe's, but the thing about it is that the impact that he made, even with the career they had, even though it was unfortunately cut short, unfortunately cut short because of a virus, mainly HIV, of course. And it's just like one could wonder, like, one can only wonder how much more he could have done with, with 5 quality years that they still had left in him, and it's just like, I feel as though had that never happened, then he definitely would have, for me, he definitely would have gone past John Stockton as the NBA's all-time leader in assists. But even in 13 seasons, well, 12 full seasons. Like it was with 1.5 season, but like I said, 13 seasons collectively. He still put up 10,141 assists with the highest assist average of all time of 11.1. And like I said, and just like my number 2 pick, this guy was a 5-time NBA champion. However, he was a 3-time Finals MVP, 3-time League MVP, and I would say that when it came to the finals, this guy rose it like this. The guy I have at number 1, like I said, he rose his game to a whole nother level. I would say that, like I said, his finals MVP, his finals MVP form is even far greater than what he ever did as a regular season MVP. Like I said, he was just like on a whole different level. Just like I said, like I said, he was just in a whole different zone, if you will, when it came to the finals. One of the most legendary finals players of all time. Actually, 3-time finals MVP, and of course, like the most iconic finals game, arguably for me, would be when he filled in for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. After Kareem went down with an injury in Game 5, and this guy stepped in and became the superhero that the Lakers needed with 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. Like I said, with his first of 3 finals MVPs. And like I said, when it comes to finals, this dude was superhuman in so many different ways. For me, he was to the finals what Joe Montana was to the Super Bowl, whereas when you get in that zone, it's just like your game raises to a transcendent level. Same with Jordan in the finals as well. But but of course, enough of that. Like I said, 3-time finals MVP, 3-time league MVP, 12-time All-Star, 2-time All-Star game MVP, a member of the 1992 Olympic Dream Team, a 9-time All-NBA first team member. And of course, I think he's led the league in assists at least like 4 times. And he was also, of course, also went to the Hall of Fame. Of course, in 2002, he was inducted by arch rival / best friend Larry Bird. And of course, he's still the Lakers, still the Lakers all-time assist leader, as I said before, with those 10,141 assists. So even though LeBron surpassed him when it came to overall career assists, but when it comes to what you've done in a Lakers uniform, this guy is still number 1 when it comes to as a franchise leader all time in assists. And not only is he the greatest Laker of all time, you guess he's also the greatest point guard of all time. And I happen to be wearing his jersey, as of this recording, and that's none other than the guy who was the captain of Showtime. He was the first overall pick in the 1979 draft, and this is the guy that not only turned the Lakers into, like I said, not only did he turn the Lakers into a contender, he turned them into. Now the thing is, not only did he turn them into a contender, he turned them into a championship team. He went from turning them to a championship team to turn them into a dynasty. He took them from becoming a dynasty, ultimately made them a brand. This guy is the first one who really turned the Los Angeles Lakers into a brand. You know what I mean? And like I said, and his imprint is undeniable. For me, I would say that he was the defining athlete of the 80s, in my estimation. And that says a lot, considering the different athletes that came in that era. But for me, when you talk about somebody who symbolizes the 80s, it's this guy. A 6'9" point guard with unbelievable handles. He was ahead of his time. He was once in a lifetime, once in a generation talent. And he was literally head and shoulders above the rest of the competition when it came to his position, and just when it came to the league in general. And had Kareem not discovered the fountain of youth in that 1985 finals, this guy, had a very strong case of being the finals MVP. Even though Kareem was the finals MVP, this guy was the most important, instrumental, the most important instrumental part of that Lakers championship team that got them there. And that 1985, 1985 finals against the Celtics was his redemption from the previous season. And of course, by the time You know, so by the time they played the Celtics again in '87, he was just way out of reach. Like this guy was at his pinnacle by the time he won that first MVP, which to me was his best MVP season in 1987. But, and of course, I say all that, you know, to say that number one on my all-time Lakers list to close this episode out is none other than number 32, the guy whose jersey I'm wearing right now, Earvin Magic Johnson. So that is my all-time top 10, like I said, you know, like my all-time list of the top 10 greatest Lakers of all time. So I'm just going to give you, like I said, if anything, I'm just going to give a quick rundown, a recap of, you know, of my list. And number 10 is LeBron James. Number 9, James Worthy. Number 8, George Mikan. Number 7, Will Chamberlain. Number 6, Elgin Baylor. Number 5, Jerry West. Number 4, Shaquille O'Neal. Number 3, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Number 2, Kobe Bryant. And number 1, Magic Johnson. So those are my top 10 greatest Lakers of all time. Thank you very much for watching.